Oh no, he blossomed. He blossomed his Max C. Oh no. Oh no. Taya. Banish Vishuda. And he really hurt himself by throwing Ash Blossom on top of what? Um Right, can't do that. Hulky Fibrax. And DPE. This guy acts like I'm worried. You put your pendulum scales at 8 on both sides. You can't pendulum summon. I'm not worried until you start attacking. Run down with that hot and heavy. Scoop. These fools are lucky I don't summon Baron. I'm gonna have to take a hit on this one. Ah, the dangers. This guy is super duper generous. What is he? He's running dangers. That's a waste. How many cards did he? 44? He's running a full deck or something. Bro, didn't he know that's what happened? Did he read the card? That is a no. Tails. 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 Heck. The one true name. Maybe he found out that skill drain affects his cards too. Skip. Dice Foon. It's not a bad card. I'd probably make use of it. Oh. Yep. Of course. Bring out Baron. Is this guy running my deck? Yes, DPE. Can't stop me. Wait, what? You know I do the same, right? Oh, fantastic. Oh, oh, this guy's probably this dude's probably mauling right now. Thank you, Fab. Oh, I wasted that one. I wasted effect. I didn't realize effect Valer wasn't going to affect. It's all right. It's all right. But yeah, there's a lot of people who always ask. They're like, "What can you do about DPE?" Banish it. Um, Call of the Grave, and nobody thinks about Super Poly. Wait a minute, do I have it? Oh, I could. I was thinking about using. Oh wait, two monsters of the same attribute, different types. Okay, that wasn't going to work. Nope. Alright, let's get to killing. Well, he played, he ran the Max C challenge, and I'm not having that. And I'm going to be very cautious of that spell or trap. I want to keep his hand light. My hand is a little lighter. Once he special summons whatever it is, I'm destroying his, I'm waiting for him to activate the effect, and then I'm going to totally obliterate Taya. Probably doesn't have any level 11 synchros. Is Sword Soul tier 0? I don't think it is. It might be tier 1. Oh, it's a skill drain? Why would you have skill drain, sir? Sir. Like, you can't run skill drain with like Sword Soul and all these other decks. Like, skill drain is basically a floodgate for like most of the meta decks. He's about to end his turn. Well, it's time to end this game. Go on, call from the grave. I am shocked. I mean, DPE is really like one of those really hard to get rid of cards, and he's trying to do it again. I wish I didn't have to discard. I wish I didn't choose to discard my evenly matched for Super Poly. Because if my opponent had a full board, the first thing I'd do is I'd throw evenly matched down on the floor, and then I'd use DPE to blow up the Phoenix and evenly matched. That's like a combo I'm really dreaming of having. There we go. Now we Chijiao. You can add or banish one Swordsouls. I think he's scooping. Well, yeah, I'll be honest. DPE is a menace, but he thought this guy thought he had me because he put out Chijiao, Baron, and DPE all in one turn. Oh, little Chimera. I'm saving this duel. For anybody who missed it, let's hit the replay. Okay. Hello there. Well, hello there. General Kenobi. Ooh, strategist. I was like, uh-oh, Baron. At least we have Effect Veiler and Infinite Impertinence. So at this point, if you don't have a meta deck, or at the very least a deck that holds that you're not holding some negates in your hand, this is the part where you really just want to scoop. So I said, let's try to draw out his I played 10. And I drew out his negate. So now that his negates are gone, it's time. It's business time. Negate his Chi Zhao. And then Fusion Destiny. Aw, yeah. Yeah, boy. Chi Zhao, dead. Baron, dead. And then I play Super Poly because I know he was gonna bring DPE back. He played Harpy's Feather Duster, so immediately Super Poly came to mind. I'm like, it's going to happen. So yeah, this is where you walked in. I kind of pre-fired Effect Veiler. I thought it was... I didn't realize that it negates only a face-up. It doesn't negate the effect of something in the graveyard or going to the graveyard. And that's where you walked in. That's when you were like, wow! That was a great way to handle DPE. Well, you see, the thing is well, let's hit the deck. I have Mud Dragon of the Swamp, just so I can deal with problematic boss monsters with Predaplant Verte Anaconda. I know some people are probably going to have a heart attack because I'm not running a 40 card deck, but they can bite me. I could probably do with one less Dreadmaster. And I haven't really been able to make use of Nibiru. Yeah, I thought for certain, you know, having 3 Tenyis, 3 Monk of the Tenyi. Besides, they're normal. I'm not losing anything out on that. Oh, instant fusion is a 1? Oh, Mega Phantom Beast Auroradon. I do not have that card yet. And I'm very, I'm a little bit weary on what I, dismantle all extras. What do I get? 10 rare? Okay. Are all the Destiny heroes dark type? I guess they are. What was the card left of Nibiru? We'll check it out after this match. I completely forgot. I don't even remember. I don't even remember what I had for breakfast. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Hey, Bobtron. We're gonna max C it out. Ooh! Opponent scooped the poop. Hey, Bobtron. Things are going good today. Doing a stream for the Luchador. All right, you said you wanted to see what was to the left of Nibiru. Oh, Destiny Hero Dreadmaster. He's just one of those extra options. So, like, him, Dasher, Malicious, and then Celestial as my, because it says one level 6 hero monster and then one Destiny hero. They're all Destiny heroes. Most of them are over level 6. So, I mean, if I wanted to, it just, you know, 2 Malicious, Dasher. I probably don't really need Celestial, but I don't know why everybody, you know, feels the obligation to just have Celestial. Oh, it's a face-up spell? Dreadmaster, it was a rare. But as far as yeah, there isn't any there isn't really many Destiny hero monsters over level 6. So I picked Dreadmaster as an alternative option. Because Dynatag saved my ass. Dynatag really saved me. Oh man, I gotta show you that one. Like, it's a moral obligation at this point. Replay. I think it was this one. This dude used Dark Magician to get himself his Winged Dragon of Ra out. Nope, this isn't the one. Yep, this is the one. I know, because this is the card that saves me. This dude had 2 Metal Reflect Slimes. I try to be creative and a little bit free to play. I appreciate the compliment. Like, you see, the thing is he's got a Twitch? Anyways, I've been watching almost as many of the Duel Logs' videos as I possibly can. Top 10 cards that stop attacks. That was 1 week ago. Top 10 cards from different dimension that aren't DD cards. Top 10 extra deck monsters that use extra deck monsters as materials. Top 10 worst dragons. What? Top 10 planeswalkers. Chat.
So what am I like?
Planeswalkers are the face of characters of Magic, so they've been given their own special card type and are usually made very splashy and powerful. There have been lots of really strong Planeswalkers over the years, and we're going to go over the absolute best Planeswalkers in the entire game. Starting us off at number 10, we have Nixalis the Adversary. This is a 3 loyalty Planeswalker for mana cost of 1, 1 black, and 1 red. He has the abilities where, when you cast him, you can sacrifice a creature to make a token copy of loyalty equal to the sacrificed creature's power. He has a +1, where each opponent loses 2 life unless they discard a card, and if you control a demon or devil, you gain 2 life. He has a -2, where you can create a 1/1 devil creature token, where when this dies, it deals 1 damage to any target, and a -7, where the target player loses 7 life and draws 7 cards. Really quick, for anyone who doesn't know Planeswalkers very well, Planeswalkers' loyalty is like their life total, and they can be attacked or targeted with burn spells, and if they run out of loyalty, they die. Once per turn, at sorcery speed, you can activate one of their abilities, which will give them loyalty if it's a plus, and take it away if it's a minus. You do need to have enough loyalty to remove to activate the ability, so you can't use Nixalis' -7 ability unless he has at least 7 loyalty. So, Nixalis is a pretty average Planeswalker on its own, with all of its abilities being of a reasonable power level. The thing that puts it onto this list is its ability to sacrifice a creature to get a token copy of him. Dealing with 2 Planeswalkers is really hard, as it will usually take at least 2 cards to do so. Making creature tokens is a really good effect for Planeswalkers, as the tokens can block for you and your walkers, making it harder to kill them. The tokens themselves are pretty nice themselves, as they can either trade with 2 toughness creatures or kill 2 1 toughness creatures. The +1 is weaker than it reads at first, as your opponent can always choose whichever mode is better for them. However, getting this effect twice a turn will end up dealing so much damage to your opponent to make it more than formidable. The -7 is as good as it looks, but getting to the so-called ultimates of Planeswalkers is hard enough that it isn't usually a consideration when evaluating Planeswalkers. Now, Nixalis is the newest card on this list, but it's already started seeing play not only in Standard, but in Modern as well. Nixalis will probably continue to see play as long as there's mid-range decks with expendable creatures to sacrifice it. And at number 9, we have Teferi, Hero Dominaria. This is a Planeswalker with a starting loyalty of 4 and a mana cost of 3, 1 white, and 1 blue. With the abilities where you can +1 it to draw a card and untap 2 lands at your end step, -3 to put a non-land permanent on top of its owner's library.
God damn.
And -8 him to get an emblem with, whenever you draw a card, exile a permanent and opponent controls. This is a pretty common template for Planeswalkers at this mana cost. Compared to Nixalis Reignited, a Planeswalker at the same mana value that also has a plus that draws you a card, a minus to remove something, and a -8 that wins the game. The thing about Teferi is that both his plus and his -3 are practically the best versions of these abilities on a Planeswalker. Getting 2 of your mana back on his +1 is huge. There are a ton of really strong spells you can cast for just 2 mana. This is the most important thing about the card. Being able to extend your own board and start getting more card advantage while still holding up interactions makes it very hard for your opponent to come back unless they already have a fairly developed board. On top of that, Teferi's -3 can't remove almost anything as long as it isn't hexproof. This combination of abilities has led to Teferi being a staple in blue-white control decks in Modern, and he was an absolute menace in Standard of his time. Being a 5-mana card that people are planning on simply casting fairly in a format as fast as Modern is a real testament to just how strong the card is. And at number 8, we have Liliana of the Vale. This is a Planeswalker with a starting loyalty of 3 and a mana cost of 1 and 2 black. With the abilities, where you can +1 her to make each player discard a card, you can -2 her to make your opponent sacrifice a creature, and you can -6 her to separate all of your opponent's permanents into 2 piles and make them sacrifice all the cards in one of those 2 piles. Liliana is a card that's really good at getting you a lot of card advantage. It's pretty easy to use Liliana's -2 multiple times over the course of a game and kill several of your opponent's creatures with only 1 card. The +1 is deceptively good as well. Making both players discard a card may not seem great, as it's a card neutral interaction. Lots of mid-range decks like Jund has used Liliana to great effect by simply forcing both players into top decking. Mid-range decks try to play their best singular cards available, whereas most decks are built around very synergistic cards. So, forcing both players to play with very few resources benefits mid-range players more. If you combine that with Liliana's ability to double as a removal spell, it becomes very hard to get past a mid-range deck with a threat and a Liliana in play. And at number 7, we have Dak Faden. This is a planeswalker with a mana cost of 1, 1 blue and 1 red, and a starting loyalty of 3. You can +1 him to draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards. You can -2 Dak to steal an artifact, and you can -6 to get an emblem, where whenever you cast a spell that targets any permanent, you steal that card. The card selection from the +1 is good, but the ability that really makes Dak Faden strong is its -2. You see, Dak Faden is only legal in Legacy and Vintage, but he only sees play in Vintage. Vintage is the most powerful format in all of Magic, because rather than ban cards, they simply limit them to 1 copy. This means that the absolute busted Moxen are legal and played in literally every deck. Outside of the Moxen, there are other extremely powerful artifacts that see all kinds of play. This makes Dak's -2 a game changer. Literally every deck in the format has tons of extremely high value targets for it to nab. While the +1 doesn't give you card advantage, the ability to filter so many cards around is still really valuable, especially in a format with cards like Ancestral Recall at 1. It's also nice to be able to fill up your graveyard with tons of cards for Underworld Breach or Yawgmoth's Will to bring them back. Now, Dak hasn't seen the most amount to play out of all the cards on this list, as not ever being legal in Standard and Modern has severely limited it, but putting up solid results in a format as powerful as Vintage for so long means that it's kind of grandfathered onto this list. And at number 6, we have Jace, the Mind Sculptor. This is a planeswalker with a mana cost of 2 and 2 blue with a starting loyalty of 3. It has the abilities where you can +2 him to look at the top card of anyone's library and put it on the top or bottom. You can 0 it, which simply won't affect its loyalty at all, to draw 3 cards and put 2 back. You can -1 him to bounce a creature, and you can -12 him to exile your opponent's entire deck, then make them shuffle their hand into their library. This is the first planeswalker we've seen with 4 abilities, making a part of a short list of walkers with more than 3 abilities. Having more loyalty abilities is always good, as it makes your cards more flexible and means they're more likely to have something good to do on a given board state. And all 4 of these abilities are good as well. The +2 allows you to mess with the top card of your opponent's library and is actually really strong. Being able to make your opponent's draws worse is a lot stronger than it sounds at first. To put it simply, if your opponent ever lets you keep the top card of your deck, you know things aren't getting better. The -1 is also really nice. Bouncing isn't the best form of removal, as it usually results in a loss in card advantage, but when it's on a planeswalker like Jace, it gets a lot better. The -12 might as well just say win the game, but 12 is so much loyalty that you won't get there in most games. The best ability on this card, however, is easily the 0 ability. There's a card called Brainstorm that has the exact same effect as Jace for 1 mana, and the card is so good that it defines the entire Legacy metagame. Obviously, you're paying a lot more mana for it here, but getting a Brainstorm every turn is hard to beat. One of the things that make this effect so good is the prevalence of fetch lands. Lands that allow you to search your deck for a land and put it into the battlefield. As a part of this effect, you can shuffle your deck. So if you use Jace's 0 ability and draw 3 good cards, you can put 2 bad cards from your hand on top of your deck, and then shuffle them away to try to draw more gas. If you're able to replace 2 dead cards in your hand with 3 good ones, that's pretty close to drawing 3 whole cards.
My name is Emmanuel. It means God is with us in the Bible.
Sorry, I'm very absorbed in the
Cards.
MTG
Jace's abilities
stuff.
were so strong that he absolutely wrecked his standard format, eventually getting banned before making his way to the Eternal formats, where he saw play for years in Legacy and Vintage, and was banned in Modern. As the formats got stronger, however, he saw less and less play, and eventually was released from the Modern's ban list. In Modern today, he sees consistent play, but any 4-mana card is going to have a hard time seeing play in such a fast format. And at number 5, we have Karn, the Great Creator. This is a planeswalker with a mana cost of 4 and a starting loyalty of 5. It has the abilities where the activated abilities of artifacts your opponent control can't be activated. You can +1 him to turn a non-creature artifact into an artifact creature with a power and toughness equal to its mana value, or you can -2 him to find an artifact card in exile or in your sideboard and put it into your hand. Karn's ability to find cards from your sideboard, called Wishing by Magic players, is extremely powerful. Not only is it very versatile, but with Karn having other abilities that can synergize with artifacts, it becomes even more potent. There's a card called Mycosynthellatus, which is a 6-mana artifact that makes all permanents artifacts in addition to their other types, and a few other abilities that aren't relevant to Karn. Karn's ability to turn off the activated abilities of artifacts does work on mana abilities, and tapping a land for mana is an activated ability. So if you have Mycosynthellatus on the field, your opponent won't be able to make any mana at all. There were ways to do this before Karn, but there were a few things that made Karn better. First off, it didn't turn off your own lands, unlike most other similar effects, and Karn was able to grab Mycosynthellatus out of your sideboard, making it an effective 1-card combo, if you could make 10 mana. This was so good in big mana decks like Tron in Modern that Mycosynthellatus was banned in the format. Since then, Karn has continued seeing heavy play in internal formats, just with other cards that don't win the game instantly. There are tons of extremely good artifacts to find out of your sideboard. Tormod's Crypt can shut off graveyard decks, Ensnaring Bridge can shut down creature-based decks, and Liquid Metal Coating can combine with Karn's +1 to blow up your opponent's lands by turning them into 0/0 creatures. And this is only a small subsection of the super powerful artifacts that have been played alongside Karn. And considering how strong artifact decks have been, Karn is poised to be a fixture in the metagame for a long time. And at number 4, we have Narset, Parter of Vales. This is a planeswalker with the mana cost of 1, 2 blue, and 5 loyalty. She has the abilities where your opponent can't draw more than 1 card each turn, and you can -2 her to look at the top 4 cards of your deck, grab a non-creature, non-land card, put it into your hand, and throw the rest to the bottom of your deck. Both of Narset's abilities are really strong. You don't have a way to gain loyalty with Narset, so you won't be able to grab more than 2 cards, but this is enough to get you card advantage. On top of going +1 in card economy, it also lets you grab the best of 4 cards, and that kind of card selection is also great. The ability that really sets Narset apart, however, is its static ability. The ability to stop your opponent from drawing extra cards is extremely powerful. We've already mentioned Brainstorm, a card that sees tons of play in older formats like Legacy and Vintage, and Narset makes Brainstorm uncastable. Even better is combining Narset with cards like Time Twister, which makes both players shuffle their hands and graveyards into the library and draw 7 cards. With Narset in play, they'll only be able to draw 1 card while you get a whole new hand. The combination of finding more cards and making all of your opponent's draw effects worthless is so strong that Narset has been restricted to 1 in Vintage, the strongest format in all of Magic, though it hasn't been hit in any other format. And at number 3, we have Teferi, Time Raveller. This is a planeswalker with a mana cost of 1, 1 white, and 1 blue, and a started loyalty of 4 with the abilities where your opponent can only cast spells at sorcery speed. You can +1 him to make it so you can cast your sorceries at instant speed until your next turn, and you can -3 him to bounce an artifact, creature, or enchantment and draw a card. The +1 in Teferi isn't great, but the static ability combined with the -3 is amazing. The ability to make your opponent play at sorcery speed makes a lot of cards almost entirely useless. Counter spells simply don't work anymore, and protection spells like Heroic Intervention are almost entirely useless. This means that you can almost entirely be sure that all of your interactions will do exactly what you want to do. The -3 is also great. Being able to get rid of a threat, draw a card, and put a strong stacks effect on the file for 3 mana is really hard to come back against. If your opponent doesn't have a creature to attack and kill Teferi immediately, he'll more than likely stick around and keep being a nuisance, possibly drawing you even more cards if you keep him around long enough. One of the best applications is actually bouncing your own cards, so you can use it to enter the battlefield effects again. For example, there's a card called Fury, which is a 5-mana creature that deals 4 damage divided amongst creatures and planeswalkers. With Teferi, you could play Fury, wipe out most of your opponent's creatures, then on your next turn you can bounce it back to your hand to do it again, on top of drawing a card. All in all, this card just did so much for so little mana. And at number 2, we have Wrenn and 6. This is a planeswalker with a mana cost of 1 red and 1 green and a starting loyalty of 3. It has the abilities where you can +1 Wrenn to return a land card from your graveyard to your hand, and you can -1 him to deal 1 damage to any target, or you can -7 him to get an emblem with instants and sorceries in your graveyards have Retrace, which is a keyword that allows you to cast a spell from your graveyard as long as you discard a land in addition to their other costs. Wrenn and 6 is one of the only 2-mana planeswalkers in the entire game, with the other one being the terrible T-Bolt, the Fiend Blooded, a card that Wizards gave a bunch of bad abilities because of how
Why do I care so much what people think about me? I think I'm gay.
how inherently strong 2-mana planeswalkers are. Unlike T-Bolt, Wrenn has a bunch of good abilities. The -7 takes too long to get to realistically be used, but both the +1 and the -1 see a ton of use. The -1 is great for cleaning up powerful 1 toughness creatures, like Ragavan or Thalia. However, the ability that really made Ren in 6 was the +1. Getting back a land may not sound that good, but there are actually a ton of applications. With cards like Fetch Lands, you'll hit every land drop for the rest of the game. There are even better applications of this, however. With cycling lands, like Tranquil Ticket, you can draw an extra card every turn as long as you play the mana. With Wasteland, you can blow up one of your opponent's non-basic lands every turn, which can often leave them without any mana after a few turns. Outside of that, there are tons of strong lands that this card can get back for you if your opponent happens to blow them up over the course of the game. The ability to recur lands made mana bases so good in Legacy that the card had to be banned, though the card still sees a lot of play in Modern. Still, despite all this success, it still can't hold a candle to the #1 spot. And all the way at #1, we have Oco, Thief of Crowns. This is a planeswalker with a starting loyalty of 4, a mana cost of 1, 1 green and 1 blue, and he has the abilities where you can +2 him to make a food token, which is an artifact that you can pay 2, tap, and sacrifice to gain 3 life. You can +1 him to turn an artifact or creature into a 3/3 elk, or you can -5 him to swap control of an artifact or creature you control with a creature your opponent controls with a power 3 or less. I think everyone saw this one coming. Oko is maybe one of the most banned cards in all of Magic. It was banned in Standard and is currently banned in Pioneer, Modern, and Legacy, as well as Historic, which is Arena's version of Eternal format. The only format where he's been left untouched are Vintage and Commander, and he's still a good card there. What makes Oko so good? The problem is that all the numbers on him are way too high. 4 loyalty is a ton for 3 mana, and he has 2 very powerful plus abilities. Here's how this usually plays out. Your opponent plays a threat, and you play Oko and +1, turning it into a 3/3 elk, and leaving him with 5 loyalty. Your opponent attacks Oko and leaves him at 2. You +2 Oko and make a food, putting him at 4 loyalty. Your opponent attacks Oko with the elk again, putting Oko at 1. On your next turn, you +1 Oko once more, targeting your own food token, turning it into a 3/3. Now you both have a 3/3 creature, and you have an Oko who can either turn any threat into another elk, or make you a 3/3 every other turn. The ability to cleanly answer a threat and stay alive generate more value is something usually saved for 5 mana planeswalkers, or 4 mana planeswalkers at the cheapest. Being a 3 mana planeswalker makes all the difference, because with a mana dork like Gilded Goose on turn 1, you can get a 3 mana on turn 2, start generating a ton of value, answer almost any threat your opponent plays, and do all this while gaining loyalty, making him harder and harder to kill. This is what I mean when I say the numbers on Oko are all wrong. He really shouldn't be able to make you creatures and remove threats on a plus ability. If his +1 was a -1 instead, he would probably at least be manageable. The decision to give him 2 plus abilities ended up making the card far, far too hard to deal with for how much of an impact he has, and no other planeswalker even comes close to being this dominant. Alright, and that's the video. Make sure to check.
Well, I got super heavily distracted, so back to absolutely demolishing my opponent. Nope. Adventure Prank Kids. Soul Sword Tenyi is a tier 2. Oof. I broke the site. Heck you. Oh, I don't have a card to discard. Crap. I'm gonna keep letting him play this out. Ruh-roh. Can I do anything about this? I could Nibiru? What's his ability? Bro, you got Nibiru'd. You took the Maxi challenge and you failed, my boy. I'm not reading all that text. Thank God for infinite impertinence. Oh! 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 Don't tell me that stopped his wombo combo, bro. What did you have in your hand? You had so much. Good. That's all I want. Get it out of your hand. Well, I've got nothing to stop him, so I'm going to take a quick bathroom break while he plays solitaire. Unless he's almost done. DPE? Yes! Yes! Good. You nerd. It's about time for the Luchador to get his broadcast up and running. So, with that said, thanks everybody for stopping in and giving in your time. Sorry for Oops. Sorry for diverting into watching a completely unrelated video, but TCGs are a thing for me, which is why I chose to play Yu-Gi-Oh this time around. Hopefully anybody watching this, please give this a like. Please give this a follow for the American Luchador. I lost my train of thought, so